Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the It Doesn't Matter podcast. And we've got myself, Strap Facts, a real American, John, and we have
the Dominican Dream, baby. This is Papi Platino.
There he is. And we have a special guest this week. We've got
Michael Davis, Boom Broadcasting, have a wrestling podcast. Drop the mic. If you guys haven't seen us on YouTube, we're at Boom Broadcasting. We drop so many different shows, and this is my second It Doesn't Matter podcast appearance, and I guess it doesn't matter, but it does matter when I'm here.
Ooh.
Yes, it does. And we've got the host of the show. We have
I am the notorious one. I am Dom.
Boom. All right, and the topic of the show this week is Paul Heyman. Yes,
Excuse
he can be his
me,
own.
sir.
You're excused. We're talking about a man this week. We're talking about a pro wrestling personality that goes beyond all the pay-per-view shows that we review on the show, goes beyond the fall brawls, even though Paul E was part of some of those against the Bad Bloods, the Armageddons, the November 2 Remembers. But, Dom, what do we got going on this week with Paul Heyman?
First of all, before we kick off the show, I'd like to say happy birthday, Paul Heyman. Today's your day. That's why we are doing this. We are live and in living color. It is all about you. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to acknowledge you.
Oh,
you know how to throw that one in there already.
He couldn't hold it.
He's been waiting since April to release that one.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah. Ouch.
All right.
Oh boy.
So my first impression of Paul Heyman is I remember this man back in the day in WCW with the long hair and the gray suit, the cheap looking suit you could find at the Salvation Army, and the big cell phone, the big flip Zach Morris cell phone. And that was my first impression of Paul Heyman. And this dude, he talked a hell of a lot of trash back in the day, and he still does to this day, but he's an icon. And he was with the Dangerous Alliance when I first seen him. He had Stunning Steve Austin. He had Ravishing Rick Rude. He had Medusa. He had Bobby Eaton. And he had the Enforcer, Arn Anderson. That was my first impression of Paul Heyman. I liked him being the voice of the Dangerous Alliance, who was basically just at that time, a modern day Four Horsemen. They wanted to, make things a little younger again. Then you have your veteran, and then you have your up and coming talent. You have your Stone Cold. Well, you have your Stunning Steve Austin, and I take that back. Not Four Horsemen. I'll say Evolution, because that's how it was. You had your veterans. You have, basically your veterans. You have your up and coming talent right there, which was Steve Austin.
Yeah,
that was my impression of Paul Heyman back in the day. Mike, I want to hear, what was your first thoughts when you seen Paul Heyman or Paul E. Dangerously?
Well, my first interaction with Paul Heyman, I'd never met the guy, but I wish to, but he's interacted with me via screen virtually. We're used to that now, even though all four of us are obviously in the same room at four different corners of the ring right here. Yeah, Strap Facts, I'm over here. Hey buddy. Hey. No, so my first impression of Paul Heyman that I remember is his SmackDown general manager days. And, it was like, oh, he's just another general manager. And then I saw him cut that promo, ECW One Night Stand, and saying, JBL, you were only WWE champion because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays. I was like, oh, that hit different. And then we were able to get him in a more manager role, getting paired up with Brock Lesnar when Lesnar made his return. And really, I'm sure we'll discuss this, but gave me an appreciation for everything Paul Heyman is, everything Paul Heyman does, and honestly, one of the best managers, if not the best manager of all time.
Yeah. Paul Heyman's the GOAT.
I agree.
Paul, he was edge. He was, he was raw. He didn't care, and maybe that's why I liked him so much, man. Just because his edginess, and he kept it right to the point. he didn't hold his tongue for nobody.
Yeah.
And he proved that with his Hall of Fame speech too.
Yeah, that was dope.
Which I got to go back and listen to.
So good.
So, Platino,
Yeah.
what do you think about, what was your first impression of Paul Heyman, the man?
Well, my first introduction to Paul was during ECW days. I think there was a storyline going on where one of the wrestlers had either gotten injured or missed a date or something. And he came out to the crowd and he explained what was going on. And it was different than what you've seen from most management guys back in the day, from like Vince or Eric Bischoff, where they would just make a quick story and all that just to hide what was going on. But he would literally just tell the crowd, like, listen, I'm not going to insult your intelligence. This guy's not here. I'm going to replace it with something better. And here it is. I mean, he knew the crowd he had. He wasn't going to fuck around with it. That's the first cuss word of the day.
Never fails.
And
6 minutes
nope.
in.
Got to do it. And he just knew how to work talent. Like, he had talent that most guys had no clue what to do with or how to work with him. He was the reason why Stone Cold became Stone Cold. He gave him that voice to express himself and be who he ended up being, one of the greatest of all time. And he even gave Mick Foley a chance. Somebody if you actually look back on it, WCW did not really use him to his full potential. There was times where they made him like a goofy character, where was it like the mental institution he had to go into and stuff. It doesn't work. Mick is a big dude. He's like 6'4", 6'5". He's a mauler. He knows how to work the ring like in a different style than most guys where they're just doing catch as can technical stuff, and he's just a big brawler. So for Paulie to see just those two guys and those two Hall of Famers and know what to do with them, not including the rest of the ECW roster, what they would become for what we know now, he knows what talent is. And truly, if he ever had a hand on some of the younger talent now, we'd probably see the same thing going on to this day, especially if you had AEW. But that's a different story.
John, what about you, buddy?
Being the pro wrestling historian that I am, I can appreciate all the notes that you have about his time as part of the Dangerous Alliance in WCW. It's still a period of time I want to revisit. WCW in 91, 92, 93, it was really bad, because maybe you can find some good. And as often as we can watch WCW pay-per-views on the It Doesn't Matter podcast, we're going to run out of them. There's only a finite amount. But anyway, my best impressions of Paul Heyman is when he became the color commentator for Monday Night Raw in 2001, after No Way Out, because around that time Jerry the King Lawler quit. And following wrestling from the time I watched it in December of 1995, Jerry the King Lawler was always the color commentary for Monday Night Raw. And so Vince was the lead announcer, then it was JR, and at that time it was JR and the King. And to have that irreplaceable voice, that irreplaceable presence on Monday Night Raw, Jerry the King Lawler, and replace him with Paul Heyman. Paulie Dangerous, Paul Heyman, the guy who running ECW. What is he doing on WWF television? And it was just, of course, the spring of 2001 was a crazy time for the entire wrestling industry. We all know what happened around that time. Perhaps, Vince bought WCW right here. Okay. But yeah, so Paul Heyman, ECW stopped running their last show in January. So the next appearance for their boss, Paul Heyman, was on a Monday Night Raw, while all the wrestlers at home not getting paid, not getting booked, not getting paychecks, any of that stuff. You would think that maybe he was working for the WWF to get some, money to pay his wrestlers. Then they were sold and bought, and then 2 weeks later, WCW was purchased. Again, wild time. But during that time, the Alliance became a thing, representing ECW and WCW superstars. And Paul Heyman had to play the dual role. He was part, he was like a manager an on-screen manager for the Alliance at times, but he was definitely the color commentator presence at ringside for 2 hours on Raw, and I'm not sure if he was on SmackDown as well, but I don't imagine he shied away from that too often either. Or maybe that was Taz, the other Alliance
No, Taz wasn't
voice.
there just yet.
Almost. We'll see.
Taz would probably be there like around 04, 05, I believe.
What, to announce?
Yeah.
Well, Michael Cole and Taz were quite a team calling Sunday Night Heat, probably from 2000 and on.
Michael Cole and Taz.
They were a great team. I mean, Taz works well with everyone. And Michael Cole, well, he's the voice of WWE. He has worked with everyone. So you can enjoy Michael Cole now, even though that 2011, 2010 heel run was very detrimental to his reputation as the voice of WWE. But it's not Michael Cole's show. It's Paul Heyman's show. And I really thought he was a great color commentary until the end of his run when Jerry the King Lawler came back after the Survivor Series. What a wonderful coincidence. The Alliance lost. You're fired, buddy. You've been replaced. By who? Jerry the King Lawler. Oh, man.
He got done chasing that cat.
I'd chase her too. Believe you me.
When has he ever? No, I won't go down there.
Go ahead. It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
I got 3 at home. The door's locked.
Someone has a question. You better unlock that door.
All right,
Go
John.
ahead, Mike.
I was going to ask John, what do you think makes Paul Heyman a successful manager, a promoter, and a wise man in this business?
Well, people throughout life, they're just, there's different modes of intelligence, maybe some can be book smart, some can be really street smart, someone can be smart in the kitchen, smart in the bedroom. But Paul Heyman is a smart guy, and you add some intelligence to you can just have a real big dweeb, real big nerd, if you know what I'm saying. They're smart, they know all the facts, but they ain't got no personality. They ain't got no toughness, no machismo, none of that kind of shit. Second cuss word of the night. I don't know. Anyway. But Paul Heyman can combine his intelligence with what is something that's it's quite a skill, and it's developed probably by his I believe his father was a lawyer. So they can talk and convince you, and Paul Heyman is intelligent, he's persuasive, and he's charming. And I mean, none of us want to believe that any of us have ever been swayed by some person like that. Male, female, doesn't matter. You can imagine just getting entranced and yeah, you got it. So Paul Heyman would do that to just people he worked with, whether they're in a higher position of his or as a employee of his. Paul Heyman could convince you to do anything. And if you watch some of ECW hardcore television and pay-per-views, he could convince his crew to do a lot for a little pay.
Paul Heyman had the gift of gab. He can sell you the shirt off his back and you will buy it. That's how he was. And everybody loved that guy.
And then he'd convince you to give the shirt back.
And pay him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy how somebody who I was watching his documentary earlier, not the one on A&E, but on the WWE Network, and he was just talking about how he started out taking pictures and sneak his way backstage, get the get the press pass, then being in the locker room with Dusty Rhodes and the producers meeting, all stuff like that, and just talking. He's like, I just want to learn everything you're doing, and then it just happened. Who is it? The Grand Wizard, Captain Lou. He learned
Freddie
from the
Blassie.
best. Freddie Blassie, and then just picked up. Oh, you should be a manager. Nah, I don't want to be a manager. And next thing you know, it worked out for him being one of the greatest managers of all time. They went to commentary, worked with the greatest announcer of all time, Jim Ross. And he just picked from Jim Ross too. Just made him even better than what he is. So it's just crazy how this guy can manipulate you, push you to your best, and you see, where you get. You succeed. Yeah. It's just crazy.
I definitely agree.
And you mentioned, like, Paul Heyman being one of the best managers of all time, and he didn't really want to be a manager to begin with. Like, I would just go ahead and flat out say, like, I know people are going, talk about, what about the brain? What about this one? What about that one? Dude, Paul Heyman has to be the best manager of all time. And I feel like, especially the last 10 years, as the wise man, as you mentioned, how great he was as the wise man, like, that's only solidified his spot at number one. Like, it's not even a question at this point anymore.
Yeah.
He is so
good.
good.
We've had this argument, remember, with Cool Ray, and y'all both shit all over me over that, but I said it once and I'll say it again. Paul Heyman is the greatest manager of all time overall. And you guys, I know Cool Ray might get back on this podcast one day and fight me over it, but evidence says it all. I rest my case, Your Honor.
Paul Heyman is so good that I forgot which segment. I think it was when Roman disappeared or something like that. And he put his emotion to everything that he does. When the night when, like I said, Roman left, I believe it was when Roman left, whatever, and Paul put the suit on that he wore at his father's funeral, so it had the memories. Like, he literally didn't sleep for like 72 hours, whatever, so his eyes all red and bloodshot. He had the 5 o'clock shadow going in. It was just crazy. Like, this dude, give this man an Oscar or a Grammy, whatever it's called.
I've said that so many times too. Some of these guys, they should be getting like acting credits, because the stuff that Paul Heyman pulls off, you wouldn't even think about it. No other person would be thinking about it. Listen, I got to look depressed. I got to do this and that. And to physically put your body through that stress and to show it on a camera, it's very difficult, because some people are one way behind the camera, and then when the red light is on, it's like they stay frozen. So, like you said, that segment, I remember that too. I was like, this guy really is depressed. Like, he really feels like this is the end of the world. So, big props for him for that, because I don't think any other manager would have shown that. It would have just been the same old spiel from all the other managers where, oh, well, he lost, I got another guy. It's like, no, he's down on his luck. He knew that was his ticket, and that ticket just left.
Well, it's not only that, but it's like the dedication of the character himself, but the dedication of getting the character over his wrestler over. I mean, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns needed two different things. Brock Lesnar can't talk as well on the microphone, so Paul Heyman was the guy on the microphone buying people to watch those pay-per-views, or buying people into the $9.99 deal for WWE Network. Like, and Brock Lesnar wasn't around for months on end, but he'd have a championship match, and Paul Heyman was responsible for getting people to tune in. Did we just see a spider crawl across?
Yeah.
We're live, pal.
Dude,
oh
Halloween.
My God.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Sid.
Halloween's like 6 weeks away. Whoever pulled that prank on Dom was absolutely fantastic. But as I was saying about Paul Heyman, see,
that was great. I'm sorry.
See, this is what Paul Heyman didn't do, by the way. This is what Paul Heyman didn't do. Paul Heyman didn't get the attention on him when he was supposed to be getting it on someone else. Brock Lesnar can't talk. Paul Heyman was the mouthpiece. But Roman Reigns, one thing he needed to prove to be the tribal chief, to be the head of the table, is Roman needed to have a good promo game, because Roman, he was almost buried when John Cena said, It's a promo, kid. You got to cut if you're going to be at the top of the game.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm still here because you can't do your job. Paul Heyman, if he goes and he's the mouthpiece of Roman Reigns and Roman just stands there, we're saying, oh, they needed Paul Heyman to be a part of Roman Reigns' career to mask a deficiency. Instead, I'm sure Paul and Roman worked on promos backstage and helped each other behind the scenes more than we'll ever know. But for Paul to literally just stand there and just worship the ground that Roman Reigns walks on, like, that's exactly what Roman's character did. And that's why I say, like, no other manager could be a mouthpiece and then turn around and do the exact opposite and get two of the biggest stars, the biggest box office characters we've seen in the last 20 years over in their respective ways. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I agree.
Definitely.
I agree.
It was like a total change when you say that. It's like you said, when it was Brock Lesnar, he's basically like the Don King. He's promoting the fight. You're coming to come see it. He's gonna get his check, and he doesn't care if he wins or loses. He's still gonna promote the monster Brock. But when it comes to Roman, his connection to the family is so much different. So he knows what he sees right there. He's like, yeah, he is the tribal chief. He is the guy that's gonna lead us into the future, and I have to, just be grateful that I'm still in the presence of him, because I know what he is and I know what was out there for him, and now I'm just gonna show the world that all the crap that he's been dealing with, it's not who he really was. This is the real man. This is the Roman Reigns that he's been waiting to show us for many years. In a way, I'm kind of glad they didn't show this one, because it's like with a diamond, you need to put pressure on it, and then it's a diamond. So it's like a rock. You put so much pressure on it, and then over time you get that nice shiny diamond. So Roman Reigns is that diamond for WWE.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Yes, sir.
Platino, what do you think about, what is it that Paul Heyman has? Like, he has the eye to find, like, who's the next big thing. Like, we know who his guys are. We know Steve Austin. You know, the Samoans, CM Punk. Ryback was even on that list. Tommy Dreamer, Rob Van Dam.
Ryback, he didn't want to deal with Ryback.
Well, he tried, but it didn't work. But
I know.
Cesaro. Like, what do you think it is? How come nobody else has that eye that Paul Heyman has?
It's almost like football. Bill Belichick. Every time when he was coaching from those 20 years when he had Brady, everyone was like, you're going to put this team out there and to win a championship? Yes. Yes. As long as I have this guy here, I know I can hide the deficiencies here and there. Paul Heyman knows how to hide the deficiencies. He knows what your strengths are. He knows where your weaknesses are. He's going to heighten those strengths, and he's going to get rid of those weaknesses every single week. So if you're looking for someone to coach you up, to get the most out of you, Bill Belichick in football, Paul Heyman in wrestling. Two GOATs right there, and you can't go wrong with that.
Mike, you're a big sports guy. Do you agree on that?
I feel like Paul Heyman has always had an eye for talent. And I feel like he's not the only one. Like, Jim Ross. I mean, let's give Jim Ross credit. Like, how many people did Jim Ross sign to WWE contracts that made the Attitude Era, that made the Ruthless Aggression Era? But Paul Heyman, especially, like, putting his name to these certain talents, like, the only one that I can really think of that didn't work out in the last 20 years was Cesaro. And maybe that was just Vince. Like, Vince not seeing it in Cesaro, because, I mean, we all see it in Cesaro.
Still see it.
Still see it. Well, Claudio Castagnoli now.
Yeah.
But he was, if he had Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon didn't lose patience, that was going to be the next guy to take over. And it's a shame that Heyman didn't get Cesaro to the WWE Championship, but it was no fault of Heyman's own.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest frustrations, because they always praise that they say that they're a global company. You have a guy that can speak 4 to 5 different languages. You send your champion every single where, China, anywhere in Europe, Africa, South America. You have a guy who literally speaks 5 languages. You can put the title on him. He has great matches, and he can promote the company and doesn't have to struggle with another translator. It's like, you can't tell me that you are the greatest businessman of all time. I'm sorry. I love Vince, and he's made a lot of great things happen for us, and that's why we still watch pro wrestling. But there's some things you look back, you're like, dude, you got to get out of your way, and just maybe not have so many yes men, and actually go with the guy that's going against the grain against you, because you might end up making even more money than you already have. But
Dude,
that's here, not now.
And dude, that's a really good point. Like, if you look at, and I know we're talking about Paul Heyman, but like, if you look at how much talent there is in WWE, like Shinsuke Nakamura, his talent level deserves to be a world champion, but he couldn't go around to all the different countries and help promote the company on the Today Show.
Yeah.
If he were to win the WWE title back at WrestleMania 34, you have guys like Andrade back in 2020. He was hot enough to be WWE champion, and even during a pandemic, they couldn't trust him right there. So there's all those guys who are like, hey, they have the talent enough, but when you had Cesaro paired with Paul Heyman, that should have been it. Like, that, we should have at least gotten 3 months. If we can get Jinder Mahal, and people trash on Jinder Mahal, I actually liked his WWE title run.
I did
but if
too.
we can get Jinder
Me too.
Mahal, we could have gotten Cesaro paired with Paul Heyman.
Ooh. I never would have thought of that one. That would have been interesting.
John, what do you think?
An eye for talent. An eye for talent. Something special that most other people don't have. I don't think so. I mean, all the guys that we associate with him for seeing that talent, the fans see it. Well, most of the fans anyway. How many? Just the smart ones. All the dumbass general admission fans, forget them. But those are the ones we want. Those are the fans we want. We need them to fill the wherever WrestleMania was this year. Prudential Financial Ford Field.
Lincoln
They need
Financial.
the 80,000 people to fill that building. Freezing. Both nights. Anyway.
Man, that was a Hulk Hogan Silver Dome moment right there.
I was like, the fuck is it called? Lincoln Financial Field. Right?
Two said moments
okay.
in one night.
hey, it's the Eagles Stadium. It doesn't matter anyways, so
Yeah, it doesn't.
And the 1 hour rumor that they're thinking about going back to that stadium. Good old Nick
That's
Khan's
crazy
like,
that they're
no.
talking about that, because they saying 2026 they're talking about going back to Philly.
yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to them going to Indianapolis for like WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and
Well, they're testing that out at the Royal Rumble coming soon.
Yeah.
I just think the Philly mayor wanted to be like, hey, look at us, Philadelphia's the place to be. We're hosting WrestleMania in 2026, and WWE's like, no, you're not. Delete that.
all right.
Anyway.
So speaking of Philadelphia, let's talk about ECW. Did any one of y'all follow ECW in its peak?
Yes.
You
Well,
wa-
as much as I could.
What were your thoughts on ECW at that time?
It's akin to what AEW is right now. A lot of hardcore stuff, but a lot of great technical matches that people just don't understand. Well, I think what it is there's too many casuals or too many guys in the mainstream that just are so tribal to WWE because of all the years of spending with their families that they don't want to see another company grow. They want to see it fail and just have one company. It's like, dude, you're cutting off the legs of multiple wrestlers that could be entertaining you in other companies. A lot of guys left WWE because they didn't get their shot. I mean, we've talked about it many a times that there's too much talent in one pool and there's too much talent in this pool. It's, this, I don't know. I don't get why there's so much tribalism in wrestling right now. I really wish there wasn't. But to get back on topic, yeah, in ECW, it was crazy. It was completely different. It was hardcore, and it was the reason why the Attitude Era came to fruition. So if anyone thinks that the Attitude Era was just gonna come, it wasn't gonna just show up. You had to have Paul like manage the way he did and get the wrestlers to wrestle the way they did to make you look and even give it a shot, even if it was at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, ECW was an alternative, like I said in a previous podcast, that I seen it and I wasn't really impressed. But it was like a few guys that caught my attention, like Rob Van Dam and the Dudley Boys, and just like the everybody being vulgar and just being like more extreme, I guess you want to say.
Yep.
It was just completely different because I'm like, this is not what I grew up watching. I grew up watching WCW. It was slow pace, and they're trying to get to the edginess, and the WWF with their Attitude Era, and this was something completely different. Probably because I didn't know the guys. Probably because I didn't see them all the time. Because like you said, you seen them 3 o'clock in the morning. I remember seeing them probably about the same time, just flipping through the channel up in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And yeah, so it just it was just completely different. It just caught me off guard, and just now knowing what we know now, like how ECW, they weren't a bunch of misfits. They were a family. These guys, they stuck together, and Paul had the vision. He had this, he had the mind for a great storyline for everybody. He tried a lot of things. Yes, some things didn't work, like the whole crucifixion things with the Sandman. And, you trying to get credit one night, not wrong thing to do. But the whole time
WWE does this. Oh, it's a symbol. Like, oh, come on, Vince.
Yeah. But, like the whole Tommy Dreamer thing and Raven beating Tommy every single time, and Tommy finally got the win. And
we've discussed that too. Like, if we were to ever have a wrestling match, I wouldn't mind losing all the time until like finally get that win. But you can't have a wrestler lose all the time. You got to have them have some wins every now and then. But that one rival where you just never seem to beat, that's a hell of a storyline to keep for years on end.
Yes.
It's a lot of people don't know how to have the patience for it. And that's what WWE needs. They need a little bit of patience because they don't see other companies doing that. All we ever hear is, oh, AEW doesn't do that. Yeah, if you actually watch, they do have some long-term booking. You just got to be patient with it.
Literally, Hangman Swerve.
Yeah.
Dude, 11 months in the making since that Full Gear rivalry. Dude, that's perfect example right there.
There you go.
That's what I'm all about. I'm all about the storytelling. We just recently watched AEW, and holy shit, they just burned Swerve's house down. Like, what the hell happened? Like, I knew the robbery was going on and whatnot, but, you just had to see what was going to be the climax of the motion picture to see what played out, and they took it to the extreme. So yeah, long term booking, long term storytelling. That's what I'm here for. That's what I love.
And to be fair, we don't get the unsanctioned lights out steel cage match at All Out if it wasn't for Paul Heyman helping reinvent the entire industry with ECW. Because before then, it was just, dude, like, it was wrestling matches. You had 3-minute matches. You hit the, occasional moves. Every match looked the same. Every tag match looked the same. We don't even have like the big blow off feud matches that we have nowadays. If it wasn't for Paul Heyman being like, yeah, let's put these guys in the ring. Let's have no DQ. It's Extreme Rules, and let them sell out like men. Like, that has allowed us to have the culmination of some really great feuds. So his fingerprints are all over this industry right now.
Definitely.
So a while ago, we had a live show, Horsepower Sega in the Lounge. We had Justin Credible on our show, and he was talking about the night he won the title. We asked him, how'd you know you're going to win the title? Paul said, "You're gonna cut a promo. After that, you're gonna attack Tommy Dreamer. Then you're gonna win the title, just like that."
Yeah.
That was basically it. So he had to put his gear on, and which shouldn't have been much because all it was some jeans and a t-shirt. But
That was actually funny thing is that was the close of our show too.
yeah, we have a few more minutes, but yeah, it was yeah, I guess you could say it was crash booking. I want to say,
Yeah.
best 3 minutes of your life.
But I feel like his crash booking compared to Vince Russo's, it actually made sense. It had like continuity to everything that was going on with the show or other storylines. Maybe I don't think I was watching at that point when Justin won, but it seemed like he always had a story for what was going on, whether you saw it or not, and he always had those surprises. And when another thing that Paul introduced that AEW's been stealing, and it's fine. I don't get tired of it. It's the lights out, lights on appearance. It all started with Paul Heyman. So if anyone says, "Oh, I started," you didn't make it as famous as Paulie did. So I'm sorry. He took it from somewhere else, but he made it that much better.
You got to steal from the best, baby. Where you think I get all my clips from? So back to Just Incredible. We asked him like his thoughts on Paul Heyman, and I'm about to play a clip from our live show.
You guys hungry, basically?
Kinda, yeah.
Did you get a sense of a collaborative effort with Paul Heyman, or just more of a directive? Like, here's what you're doing tonight. How about this?
It was definitely collaborative.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but
You weren't leading to a world title victory at that time.
No.
He
He would throw stuff at you, and if you had a rebuttal, like if there was something I had a question or anybody, of course he would, talk to you or explain or whatever. But dude, I never had to say shit to Paul. Paul, he was just always spot on because Paul couldn't afford to bury anybody.
Yeah.
He had to keep everybody good. Like, I never worried like, oh, he's burying my character. I'm not going to be on TV next week. I said, no, I'm fucking Just Incredible, dude. I'm going to be in the main, you know what I mean? I'm going to be there next week, as well as all of the other people, because he needed everybody's collaborative effort to make it.
So that must have been a lot of trust in him. Because
I trusted him with everything.
Because if you're
I'll tell you one thing, and I always.
We won't get to the next part because that's when he started talking about Paul Heyman bouncing checks. But that's another story.
Not a perfect man. Not a
Nobody's
perfect. You live it and you learn it.
Yeah.
John, what do you think about Paul Heyman and how he ran ECW, and seeing this clip again of Just Incredible?
I'll tell Just Incredible what's up. What's up, Just Incredible? If Just Incredible still wants to say, I don't see any storylines in AEW. They burned the man's house down. No heat. Fire. It's literally heat. Just Incredible.
Mark that.
You want heat?
You know?
I'll give you heat.
I didn't really get to fully flesh out my point on Paul Heyman being the people's picker, the people's choice, picking all the people that the fans pick. I mean, it's just a lot of it is common sense. It's of course Cesaro and Ryback at a certain period of time. Yep. CM Punk would be one of his guys. We all liked him, and we still like him today, right? What about Paul Heyman's lesser choices? I'm sure everyone has lesser choices, but Dom keeps bringing up Tommy Dreamer as one of the top superstars, and I mean, hey, we've interviewed some top superstars on this podcast: Ahmed Johnson and Barry Horowitz, for example. Okay, we've interviewed some top talents here. But Don keeps mentioning Tommy Dreamer. I like Tommy Dreamer. I mean, except when I met him in person, he was just like a totally different guy than he was on. He had a little internet web series, I think, it's just called the Tommy Dreamer Show, and you can still find it. But yeah, he just kind of like one-offish. It wasn't being mean or dismissive. He just kind of didn't care that he was there when I met him in a Danbury PAL Police Athletic League facility 10, 12 years ago. But anyway, yes, Tommy Dreamer in the grand scheme of Extreme Championship Wrestling, the original edition and the WWE version, he was an important piece. And in pro wrestling as a whole, he's an important piece. He was a road agent for many years for WWE and for TNA. He's wrestled, probably wrestled all throughout the years. I don't even know when his last match was, but probably a couple of years ago. But yeah, Tommy Dreamer is a big deal in ECW. But I couldn't. I would not put him in that. I wouldn't put him near Hall of Fame category. That's what it seems like when Dom says it, and that's what I hear. It's like, no, is Coco Beware? Sure, I guess, because he's the threat. You better man up, or I put Coco Beware in the Hall of Fame. But that guy's gone now. Okay, we're not talking about Vince McMahon anymore.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Coco.
Coco, no, he's still alive. Maybe just check his Twitter. Anyway, Paul Heyman has a great eye for talent, but so do the rest of the fans. So all it means is his brain is on the pulse of the fans, and that he should be trusted more. Maybe during the pandemic, guys like Cedric Alexander would have panned out. Maybe Humberto Carrillo would have panned out as a single superstar versus being Berto of whatever the group is he's in now.
I don't know.
Remember those 3-week pushes? That's right. They could have been something. But, could it have worked out? We don't know. Is Cedric Alexander capable of being a really huge WWE superstar? Yes. Everyone's can be capable of that. Has he been given an obvious opportunity to do so? Not at all. I mean, just as a fan, I use Rhino as an example, just a personal example. No, maybe other people really like Rhino. But he was one of the last ECW originals in the company. Was he the TV champion or the world champion?
He was the TV and the world champion.
How the hell am I TV champ? We ain't got no damn TV.
So, and then he came into WWE very hot, and during the alliance, and then he got a neck injury. Unfortunately, it really, really stalled his momentum. But you saw Rhino at that time as a young guy, a upstart guy. Maybe he should get that push. Paul Heyman saw it in. Why wouldn't the SmackDown writing team see it in him? But he continued to just be on the roster and kind of meander, and then he got fired for personal reasons over WrestleMania weekend. But there were his appearances in TNA, the old TNA, where they made him the NWA World Champion, and he was a headliner, and he was a main event guy. And I remember watching his work, and I was thinking, no, doesn't do it for me as like a main event contender guy. I mean, he certainly had the potential, It's just that when given that spot, in one fan's opinion, he didn't do so well in it. But that's the thing with Paul Heyman. He sees a lot of potential in people. You gotta let them live up to their potential. They either pan out or they don't. Rhino, Tommy Dreamer.
Man, why are you hating on Tommy Dreamer, man?
I have a picture with him. I should upload it right now. I should try. Give me 10 minutes. I like Tommy Dreamer, but when I hear it, it's like, no, he's not. He was ECW World Champion 2 times, I believe, but he's not a world champion.
He doesn't catch your eye for you when you see him. He doesn't scream world champion material for you. That's what I'm saying.
To be fair, a lot of the people in ECW weren't. A lot of Paul Heyman guys weren't. Obviously, Brock Lesnar the anomaly, Roman Reigns the anomaly. Who saw it in CM Punk from a physical standpoint?
No, you don't see that.
Paul Heyman was the guy to see that. ECW, I mean, Rob Van Dam, who would have seen
I
other
saw
than
that.
Paul Heyman?
I kind of saw that. He had that charisma.
He's a different breed.
Yeah.
But Paul Heyman had to put these guys in position. that you didn't have the franchise Shane Douglas walking
That's true.
around. Like, he was a guy you'd be like, he could be a world champion in any company other than WWE, because Vince was a jerk to Shane Douglas.
Dean Douglas.
Yeah, he did not like him at all. Or the Click.
I mean, he got his shot in ECW and he did very well in it. But even like later in WCW and knowing his reputation and all that stuff, I just never liked this guy, Shane Douglas. Just a loudmouth who yells a lot. I can't relate to anything like that. But I can tell you what I can relate to. I did find the photo of myself and Tommy Dreamer there.
Woo, woo, woo.
You know it.
That handsome boy in gray.
And he didn't know if he was getting a picture with Zack Ryder or John Morrison.
Hey, don't joke about 2/5 of the Mrs. Wedding party, okay? O-H-I-O.
My next question for you guys. Have you guys ever met Paul Heyman?
No,
No.
but I want to.
I smell a graphic coming up.
I know.
If you look right behind me, yes. I met him on my way to WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans. He was on my flight. And next you know, I seen him sitting there. I was like, oh my God, it's Paul Heyman. It's Paul Heyman. I was like, should I be a mark and ask for a photo on the plane? I was like, nah, because he had his phone out. I'm like, I ain't gonna do it. So I go to baggage claim. I see him again just sitting there. I was
That's
like,
two
all right.
times.
I'm like, 2 times. I gotta do it. Next you know, like, Mr. Heyman, can I get a picture of you? Yeah, you can. Okay. Pass my phone off. Actually, no, was it my phone? No, actually, I think it was a camera. It was the actual camera or whatever back in the day, 2014. Took the camera. The damn lens was still on the camera. I was like, no, I gotta get another one. Next, took the picture again. And after, I'm like, thank you. I'm like, good luck. He said, ha, 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 I don't need it. I'm like, I ain't thinking nothing of it. Speaking into fruition. Now I looked at the picture, and he had that smug look on his face like, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to print this one out. So that's
Dude,
it right there behind the corner. It was dope.
That's awesome. I absolutely love that. That's a memory you'll hold for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like a girl, you see a cute girl when you're single and dating, and you see her one time, you don't approach her, and you're like, man, but that second time, you better do something. You better do something.
Yeah, if you go somewhere else and you see her, you're like, yeah, fate's saying one thing. Gotta go.
You guys have a favorite moment of Paul's?
I'll let John answer that one first.
Gives him time to think.
Well, like you kind of mentioned it earlier. No, you did mention it earlier. It was, Paul Heyman. I mean, I got some grays. There's still a lot of black hair here, but just think back to Tommaso Ciampa at NXT during that certain period, or Baron Corbin as Unlucky Corbin, and his hairline ain't so great, and he's got the balding around it, and he's looking disheveled and things like that. And that was Paul Heyman trying to sell that angle, in the father suit and the not shaving, the not showering, the not bathing. I mean, you want to give him an Oscar award for that. Do you remember Roddy Piper spending time in Alcatraz before Super Brawl 1997?
Yep.
Man, me and Nita watched that one. She was like, what the hell is going on? This is wonderful. She loves Roddy Piper. Shouldn't we all? But it's like, yeah, Roddy Piper getting out of the Alcatraz, going on the ferry back to the mainland, and the Cow Palace is still about a good 20 miles down the 101 there. And then, of course, the pay-per-view starts, and I don't know. I don't think we reviewed it, or did we watch it on our own? I watched it.
Super Brawl? No, we haven't.
No,
We
okay.
haven't yet.
So he makes it to the Alcatraz eventually. I mean, to the Cow Palace eventually from Alcatraz. And of course, he's the main event. So what is Roddy Piper doing for the 2 hours and 45 minutes it takes for the whole show to happen? Then they play his music, and then he comes to the ring to job the Hollywood Hogan.
Oh, Jesus, I forgot.
But
WCW.
disheveled Paul Heyman, just as fun as disheveled Roddy Piper. Abel.
Oh man, I'm gonna go with a recent one. When Solo was trying to make him acknowledge him, and you would think because he's so scared and terrified of what's he's seeing with this new bloodline, and Solo asks him, "Hey, acknowledge me now." So he goes, "I acknowledge. I acknowledge that you're not my tribal chief." Oh, you're like, you just signed your death warrant. It's like
That
you
was
can't.
so perfect.
Yeah,
You want to know why
it
it's
just
so
shows.
perfect? Because he was in the Garden. Madison
That too.
Square Garden, one of the biggest arenas in the United States. It had to be there. Because you knew Paul was going to get taken out by Solo Sikoa, and it had to happen in one of the major arenas, and that right there was the place to be.
And it also showed his actual undying loyalty to one wrestler that he actually has not betrayed ever. He's betrayed Brock, he's betrayed Show, all these other guys, but he knows where the money's at, and it's his tribal chief,
Mm-hmm.
Roman Reigns.
Put it up, John.
John, acknowledge. Look back over here when I'm talking to you.
Listen. We the ones. Because you the twos.
Wow. No, Poppy stole mine. I will bring up some other ones because that moment though was huge, and people who have said like, "Oh, this sucks. Roman's not here. The bloodline sucks." You know, da 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 da. No, like Paul Heyman, that was another example of you need to get this guy over. You need to get this new bloodline over, and nobody else could have pulled that off other than Paul Heyman, and that was probably the biggest pop we've heard with the bloodline since Sami Zayn got his honorary Oos shirt.
Yep,
Like
I totally agree.
That was absolutely like picture perfect. You are not my tribal chief. But some of my favorite moments obviously come with a microphone in Paul Heyman's hands. I referenced ECW One Night Stand 2005 where he's throwing shots at JBL and hide your wives, guys. It's Edge out in the balcony. Those are some really good ones. Two of the promos that stand out to me are the ones that he's tapped into that personal side. One of them was Cody Rhodes in the build up to WrestleMania, where he's looking at Cody and saying, "I loved your father, and he would be so proud of you, but Roman was always the son he wished he had." That was good.
Yeah.
The second moment that stands out is, and Paul's talked about this too in several different interviews, where he's standing with Vince McMahon in the ring, and beforehand, Paul's like, "Do you want me to go over these lines with you?" And Vince is like, "Nope, just go make me money." And Paul Heyman goes in the ring and just berates Vince McMahon for stealing all his ideas, stealing Extreme, stealing all the trademarks, the copyrights. Like, Paul Heyman's like, "You took my life.
Yeah.
You took everything I have, my intellectual property that he's put so much work in." And it was just, when Paul Heyman's career is over, there's going to be one promo that embodies everything Paul Heyman was, and it's that promo that he cut on Vince. Because without ECW, without him starting that, without him putting everything he had into it, even if he didn't have the money all the time, and all those checks were bouncing like Just Incredible was talking about, like, he did it to help people put themselves on the map. He did it to give entertainment to the fans, to give us an escape. And for the next 20, 30 years plus, he's given us that escape still through his work, through his contributions to WWE. And so that is why Paul Heyman, greatest manager of all time, And we acknowledge you, Paul Heyman, as our tribal chief of the managerial space.
John?
You talking about Paul Heyman being the greatest manager of all time?
Throw it up. Throw it up.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, you should.
come
You
on.
should. You should. Paul Heyman,
Paul Heyman.
pound signed, one. That's all you got. Do you
Pound
need help
sign.
spelling Heyman?
Oh, any help spelling pound sign. Phone number symbol. That's hashtag boy. This is Jay Briscoe right there.
Oh.
Not freaking Paul Heyman. You know, all I know about Paul Heyman is that I want his action figure. I do collect them figures, and I want his, and it comes in a 3-pack with who else? His boys, Brock and Roman Reigns, allegedly seen at some TJ Maxx's and Burlingtons and Marshalls. But I haven't seen them, especially
You
not
can
the one
find it
across
on
the street.
eBay.
I will not pay those creeps, those cretins who stalk those TJ Maxx's, Burlingtons, and Marshalls. I know this type. It's like looking in the mirror. I know exactly who they are. Bunch of jagoffs. But Paul Heyman is such a great non-wrestler. I want his toy just as if he was a hulking pro wrestler. But yeah, I love Paul Heyman. I mean, I remember when his DVD was supposed to come out. It was like it's so. I mean, Randy shout out of the episode. Homeboy would go to Best Buy every single week, every single Thursday, because I guess they would drop the new DVDs on Tuesday, but sometimes they'd be Thursday. And so he'd go there, he'd buy the newest DVD. Homeboy is the biggest collection I've ever seen that no one else has ever seen because Randy doesn't exist. He's
He ain't got me beat.
AI. He's not even watching live because if he was, he'd be chatting right now.
Randy actually hit me up in the DMs. I
Ooh.
can tell he's not watching our show because what he said, I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'll say it off cameras. So, yeah. Randy's something else.
Okay.
He watched the election. I mean, the speech last.
Oh, jeez.
Nah, something
Moving on.
ECW related.
Don't tell me. I got plans after the show.
Me too. Somewhat.
Anyways,
What's Randy talking about?
Well, I guess I could spoil it. It's already out there.
No, whoa.
No.
All right.
Go Red Sox. They're doing terrible. It
I
doesn't
won't
matter.
say nothing.
Thanks.
No problem.
But anyway, yeah, Randy used to go to Best Buy, get those DVDs, those Blu-rays, and man, that Paul Heyman one was sold out. He couldn't get his hands on it, just like the CM Punk one was sold out years earlier. People just love this man. People just love this guy. He's got, they love the guy's history, his respect for the industry and the business, and his constant contributions. Because as long as Brock or Roman are on TV, he's going to be a presence somewhere, and he is a present, a gift to us all. Paul Heyman.
Just gracias.
Yes. All right. As for me, for my favorite moment for Paul Heyman, I'll take it back 10 years ago, 2014. I told you I met him in that airport, and I talked to him briefly. When Brock Lesnar conquered the streak, don't know if he knew that he was going to conquer the streak or not. I'm talking about Paul Heyman that he is. Man, those emotions. Being in that building, in the Superdome, and then you hear the 1, 2, 3, and it's complete silence. John, you was there. You can agree
That's
with me.
exactly how he described it. Complete silence at the 3.
At the 3. And then there's like no music going on. Like
It's perfect.
usually you hear the music take place. You look on the Titantron, you see 21 in 1.
Oof.
Then
I'm
all
game.
you hear is, "Oh my God!"
Goosebumps right now.
And this guy,
Like, yeah, I forgot his name. I met him too on Bourbon Street,
Todd.
but the Undertaker dude.
My phone was not going to
Oh
reach you.
my God! You want to talk about wrestling that made us. The goosebumps were real. It was cold in that venue right there, especially being on top of the roof. But it was cold. So, but man, he conquered the streak, and Brock just sitting there laughing. You did it! You did it! What a moment! Like, that's probably one of the, besides Roman with the longest record, that's probably like one of the top accolades. Paul Heyman has to be.
That probably might be number one, even more so than the Tribal Chief.
Facts.
That is tough. It's tough. I know you got a guy who's been champion for over 1,000 days, which has been done 4 or 5 times. But to be the very first one to end the undefeated streak, I hate you New York Giants fans. All of you. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, no love for the Giants. No love for the Giants whatsoever. Go Cowboys.
There you go.
Oh, man.
Do we have are you a Cowboys fan?
Patriots.
I mean, it's okay. I will acknowledge that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time.
Thank you.
Not the place. I've talked about this before, but Tom Brady's kryptonite was the NFC East for some reason. Like,
Yeah.
the Giants twice, the Eagles once, but the Dallas Cowboys ended the career of Tom Brady, much like Brock Lesnar ended the streak of the Undertaker. So, if you guys don't like Tom Brady, you should. But if you don't, you have Cowboys Nation to thank.
Well, Dom hates him for 1 year.
I don't mind Brady. It is what it is.
Well, I know if he had won the
wasn't even
undefeated
Brady.
streak,
It wasn't even Brady.
if I know Tom has said if he had won that year, he probably would have retired a little bit earlier. I mean, what do you have to prove once you've had an undefeated streak, an undefeated season? Like, you've literally done the impossible. So that just motivated him even more. So that's another Bill Belichick and Paulie. When you see failure, you go hide the deficiencies and go back to greatness.
Ooh.
Clip that.
That was dope. That was dope, Platino.
Clip that.
I don't know.
Any
who Tom
final
Brady
thoughts? Any final thoughts on Paul Heyman? John don't know what's talking about with Bill Belichick. But
is. I don't know who Tom Brady is.
that's Brady all in.
We'll teach you a little bit, baby. We gonna give you a little bionic elbow on a little bit of Tom Brady and a little bit of Bill Belichick on another night. But tonight we talking about wrestling, baby. But
That's right, Abel. We're here to talk about professional wrestling. Paul Heyman, an episode that we're streaming live somewhere that I can't find, but that's okay. But we're streaming here on September 11th. It is Paul Heyman's birthday. It's a unique day for this great nation. And we're here talking about Paul Heyman, like I said, because it's his birthday. And hey, we love the guy. We respect him. We admire him. And we hope to see more of him in pro wrestling to come, in whatever role, because whatever role he brings is gold.
yes, gold.
Mike, thank you for being on the show tonight. We appreciate you.
Thank you to Boom Broadcasting Network.
What was that?
The Boom Broadcasting Network.
There we go.
Am I saying it right? No, when I say it, it doesn't.
I'm familiar with Boo.
No, I really appreciate y'all. This was my second appearance on the It Doesn't Matter podcast. And I told you that means it does matter now because you guys welcomed me back. Really appreciate it. Even though some of John's takes didn't really matter, and that's okay. But
Clip that.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Calling yourself a real American and saying I don't know who Tom Brady is. Come on, man.
Golf is America's sport.
All right, cancel him. Who has permission to mute his microphone? That's But no, really appreciate you guys. Love the stuff you're doing here. If any of my audience is watching tonight live, or if you watch it back on the replay, like, go subscribe to them, go help them out. They do really good stuff. They've had some really good interviews as well. Justin Credible being one of them they mentioned earlier. And if you're one of It Doesn't Matter fans, we're doing some stuff at Boom Broadcasting. We have a lot of sports content. We have a lot of wrestling content. Like every time Raw, NXT, Dynamite, SmackDown, pay-per-views in, there's a guy who does Nightcaps, which is a quick review of the show and talking it afterwards. I have my own wrestling podcast there. There's another wrestling podcast there. There's sports. I mean, dude, there's so much stuff there. And I just flicked my rubber band across the room. It probably hit John in the face right there.
Probably hit that spider that was on my screen.
Yeah.
Please, was that real or was that
that shit was real. I seen it. I'm looking. I'm like,
dude, it was white.
Yeah, I was like,
I don't know.
Is this real?
I don't know because of the light, but I don't know.
Dude,
typical. That's a Sid moment right there for us.
Next time I get invited onto one of these, Dom's gonna be known as Spider Dom.
Yeah,
that's it.
Into the spider Dom.
Spidey Dom.
That's it. All right, but next week, Platino's Choice. We're bringing back head-to-head Monday Night Raw and WCW Monday Nitro. John chose September 22nd, 1997. That is the night Raw was in Madison Square Garden. That is the night Stone Cold Steve Austin stunned Vince McMahon for the first time.
Ooh.
Platino is going to be reviewing the WCW side. That is the night we see the debut of Bill Goldberg.
Wow.
It's going to be an interesting show. Head to head. Yes, sir. But all right, Mike, thank you again. Boom Broadcasting Network, BBN. I'm Notorious One. I am Dom. I'm here with Poppy Platino. I'm here with StratFact. I'm here with my man Mike from Boom Broadcasting. And we will see you next time. Boom.
Boom Broadcasting.